My name is Jasmine Mertens, and I never imagined my own husband would betray me with my sister. But one night, I discovered their secret, and I made a choice. Not to cry, not to walk away quietly, to make sure every single person they cared about saw exactly who they really were. This is how it happened. Before we start, tell me where you're watching from in the comments, and hit subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The room smelled like cinnamon and lies. Everyone was gathered in my parents' living room, champagne in hand, waiting for me to start the Mertens family year in review video I'd promised would make this Christmas one to remember. It would. Liam stood beside me, his hand on the small of my back like he still owned me. My husband had the nerve to smile down at me, the kind of smile that fooled strangers and, until recently, fooled me. Across the room, Sienna, my little sister, perched on the arm of a chair, swirling her drink, pretending not to look at him. They thought they'd won. They thought I didn't know. My mother clinked her glass. All right, everyone, phones away. Jasmine worked hard on this, so pay attention. Nothing embarrassing in there, right? My cousin joked. I smiled. Depends who you ask. I walked to the TV, remote in hand. The first slide was already up. Our family Christmas card. The one everyone got in the mail. The one they'd both posed for, like nothing in the world was wrong. Liam chuckled. You're not gonna roast us too hard, are you? Not at all, I said, my voice steady. This is just truth. The video began. Soft piano music, harmless shots from the year, family dinners, trips to the coast, birthdays, faces lit by sunlight, everyone playing their part. Laughter bubbled around the room. Then came the first card photo. Me in the middle, Liam on one side, Sienna on the other. A picture-perfect family moment. My mother sighed. That's my favorite. The next image looked almost identical. Except this time, if you watched closely, you saw it. Liam's hand not on my back, but resting low on Sienna's waist. Her smile tilted toward him, his eyes on her lips. Silence slipped into the room like smoke. What's this? Aunt Marie asked. Sienna laughed too quickly. It's just a bad angle. I clicked again. The next frame wasn't a photo, it was a short video, taken at the same Christmas card shoot, from a different angle. Liam leaning toward her, her hand brushing his chest. That look between them, the one they thought no one noticed. Jasmine. Liam's voice was low now, almost a growl. I didn't look at him. Still, the best part's coming. My dad shifted uncomfortably. My mother's smile faltered. The music kept playing, cheerful and completely wrong for what was happening. Then the slideshow shifted again, this time to a grid of 12 Christmas card photos. Each one looked festive at first glance, until you saw the background details. Hotel rooms, a balcony I'd never been to. Liam's shirt unbuttoned, Sienna in his hoodie. Little stolen moments, all wrapped up in holiday borders, as if their affair was just another family memory. Gasps. Someone swore under their breath. Sienna's face drained of color. Where did you... I cut her off. Oh, that's nothing. This next part is... live audio. Liam stepped toward me, lowering his voice so only I could hear. Turn it off. Now. I met his eyes and smiled. Why would I ruin the surprise? The room was frozen. My father's jaw was tight, his hand gripping the arm of his chair. My mother's breathing was uneven, her eyes darting between her daughters like she didn't recognize either of us. Sienna stood slowly, her drink shaking. Jazz, let's talk. Sit, I said, not raising my voice but making it clear there wasn't a choice. I reached into my pocket, feeling the small black USB drive between my fingers, the one that had taken me 3 months to fill. And that's when I pressed play on the recording, the one they didn't know I had. Before last Christmas, I thought I'd finally built the life I'd been working toward since I was a teenager. Liam and I had been married for 4 years. We lived in a renovated Spanish-style bungalow in Silver Lake, arched doorways, a lemon tree in the backyard, and a kitchen big enough for the dinner parties I loved hosting. I ran a small but growing events company, booking everything from corporate launches to celebrity weddings. Liam worked in real estate investment, deals, phone calls, and the occasional victory dinner where he'd charm strangers in tailored suits. We had a rhythm. Mornings were coffee together before the rush, me scrolling through client emails, him reading property reports. Evenings were wine in the backyard or Netflix on the couch. On weekends, we hiked, we brunched, we argued over what color to paint the guest room. And Sienna, my little sister, was a regular part of that rhythm. She'd moved to West Hollywood a year earlier after a breakup, and I'd been thrilled. Growing up, she'd been my shadow, borrowing my clothes, stealing my shampoo, crying in my bed over high school drama. Having her close again felt like a second chance to be in each other's daily lives. She came over often, sometimes invited, sometimes just in the neighborhood. She'd sit on the counter while I cooked, sipping wine and teasing Liam about his Wall Street cosplay. He'd grin and give it back, calling her Hollywood for the way she always looked like she was ready for paparazzi. At the time, it all felt harmless. I didn't notice the way Liam's posture changed when she entered a room, or how she laughed a little harder at his jokes than mine. I didn't notice how often they locked eyes when something funny happened, as if I were a spectator to their private version of the moment. My parents loved him. My friends envied me. I had no reason to suspect anything. One Friday night in early spring, we hosted a small dinner. Just the three of us and a couple of friends from Liam's work. Sienna showed up late, apologizing in that breathless way she had, saying she'd been stuck in traffic. But her lipstick was perfect and her hair smooth like she'd stepped off a chute. Liam pulled her chair out before I could, a small gesture I brushed off. Halfway through dinner, she reached across him for the wine bottle, her hand brushing his shoulder. He didn't flinch, didn't move, just poured for her with a small smile. I remember thinking, they're just comfortable with each other. It wasn't until later, months later, that I replayed that moment in my head and realized I'd seen the first thread unravel. After dinner, Sienna stayed behind to help me clean up. She loaded the dishwasher while I put leftovers in containers. "Liam's a good one," she said casually. "Yeah," I replied, smiling. "I know. You two ever fight?" "Of course." "Why?" She shrugged, closing the dishwasher with her hip. "Just wondering. You seem solid." It was such an innocent conversation at the time. But now, when I think back, I remember the way she didn't look at me when she said it, how she seemed to be studying the floor, almost like she was hiding a smirk. A week later came the red flag I didn't recognize. I'd been swamped with back-to-back events, barely home. One Thursday, I came in early, hoping to surprise Liam with takeout from his favorite Thai place. I walked in, and there they were, Liam and Sienna, sitting at the kitchen island, heads bent over his laptop. She was laughing at something on the screen, her hand resting on his arm. They both looked up when I came in, just a fraction too quickly. "Hey," Sienna said brightly. "Liam was showing me this insane property listing. Thought you'd get a kick out of it." I smiled, set the food down, and kissed Liam on the cheek. "Looks like fun." We ate together, and the moment passed. But in the quiet of that night, lying next to Liam as he scrolled his phone, I remembered the flicker of guilt in both their faces. I pushed it away. It was just family, I told myself. I had no idea that night was the first domino. The moment the truth arrived, it didn't kick the door down. It knocked, politely, like it belonged there. It was a Wednesday night in early November. I was in the kitchen finalizing seating charts for a corporate gala when my iPad lit up with a preview from our shared iCloud album. The notification read, "New photo added, holiday drafts." I didn't create that album. Curiosity outweighed suspicion at first. I swiped it open. The first photo seemed harmless. The grove, giant candy canes, Liam in his navy coat, Sienna in white. Me, between them, smiling like I had no idea my life was already being dismantled behind my back. The second photo looked the same until I let my eyes linger. Liam's hand was low on Sienna's waist, not friendly, not brotherly. His body angled toward hers, his gaze dipped to her mouth. She wasn't looking at the camera. She was looking at him. My heart didn't race. My stomach didn't drop. Not yet. This was the kind of thing you tell yourself means nothing until the next click removes that comfort. Photo 3. Them alone. Cropped tight. His chin on her shoulder. Her smirk, half amusement, half possession. Caption in notes. Cute but delete. My thumb hovered over the screen, shaking slightly now. Photo 4. A parking garage. Her laughing, blurry, his hand at the base of her neck. A gesture too intimate for public. Too practiced to be new. Photo 5 stopped me cold. A wine glass with lipstick, next to Liam's watch on a marble nightstand I didn't recognize. Caption. Rain check dinner. My vision tunneled. I closed the album, sat still long enough to hear the hum of the fridge. Then I reopened it, because disbelief demands proof, even if it's poison. I looked through each one again, slower this time, cataloging angles, backgrounds, clothing, dates. I'd built my career on noticing details, and now those skills turned on me, stripping away the last layer of plausible deniability. I closed the iPad and didn't sleep that night. The next morning, Liam breezed into the kitchen after his run, smelling of sweat and cedar cologne. Morning, Jazz. He kissed my cheek, reached for the coffee pot. Might swing by Sienna's today. She wants help with shelves. He said it so casually, like helping my sister with home decor was the most natural thing in the world. I studied him, really studied him, for the first time in months. The faint white mark on his jawline. A scratch that looked like it came from jewelry. Not accident. You're handy, I said, sliding him my car keys. Take mine. Yours needs gas. He grinned. You're the best. When he left, I waited until the garage door closed before grabbing the spare key to his office. His desk in Century City held everything I needed, because Liam never thought I'd look. The laptop was password protected, but his birth year and jersey number from college unlocked it in 2 tries. Emails, calendar invites, receipts. It was all there. Airbnb bookings during workdays. One at the Pali Hotel, the same headboard from the nightstand photo. Another in Malibu, midday shoot in the notes. Shared calendar invites between his old college email and one with a string of numbers and Sienna tucked inside it. Then a notes document that made my blood run cold. Tell Jay after New Year control the story. No lawyer's first meeting. Protect delete holiday drafts. Christmas card? LOL. My hands went cold. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't heat of the moment. This was strategy. That night, I watched him eat the truffle pasta he brought home like nothing had changed. I kept my eyes on his throat, the steady pulse there, imagining the exact second before something snaps shut. I didn't say a word. Not then. The final confirmation came a week later. Sienna texted me mid-morning. Ugh, sick. Come over later? Bring soup? I did. With soup, and a voice recorder small enough to vanish under her couch cushion. We talked. She thanked me for being the best sister. I left the recorder running. At 9:42 p.m., Liam walked into her building. At 11:58 p.m., I had them, clear as day. Sienna's voice. Do you think she suspects? Liam. She's busy, always busy. Sienna, almost a whisper. I feel bad. Liam. Then don't. We're inevitable. I played that word, inevitable, on a loop until it stopped sounding like English and started feeling like a deadline. That was the moment I knew. I wasn't going to confront them. I was going to ruin them. The morning after I heard the word inevitable, the world felt strangely still, like the city had hit pause just for me. Sunlight crept in through the kitchen blinds, slicing the marble counter into neat strips. Liam sat at the island scrolling through his phone, his coffee steaming. Sienna's perfume still clung faintly to his hoodie. He looked up. You're quiet this morning. I'm thinking, I said, sliding 2 eggs into the skillet. About work? I flipped them without answering. In truth, I wasn't thinking about work at all. I was thinking about how easy it would be to let him believe that. How easy it would be to move pieces right under his nose, as long as I kept my voice calm and my eyes warm. If I'd learned anything from running high-profile events, it was that the most flawless takedowns happen in plain sight. Guests walk into a room believing they're in control until the reveal hits, and they realize every step was orchestrated. Liam had no idea he was already in the opening act of his own destruction. That afternoon, I went into the guest room, the one I'd been meaning to repaint for months, and shut the door. I laid out my laptop, my planner, and a brand new spiral notebook. I wrote one word across the first page in thick black ink. Revision. Not revenge. That word was too obvious, too sharp. Revision meant the story was mine to rewrite. I drew 3 columns: public, private, collateral. Public was where the humiliation would happen. Unmistakable, undeniable, impossible to recover from. Private was for the details only they and I would understand, cut deep enough to keep them awake at night. Collateral was insurance, evidence, leverage, anything I could use if they tried to twist the narrative. By the time Liam came to tell me he was ordering Thai for dinner, I'd filled 2 pages. He still underestimated me completely. That weekend, we went to a mutual friend's birthday dinner. Sienna was there, hair curled, wearing a dress she knew Liam liked, navy silk with a slit high enough to make her point. She smiled at me like nothing was wrong. "You look tired," she said softly as we hugged. "Working too hard again?" I laughed. "Something like that." She glanced at Liam, then back to me. The tiniest flicker of pity? No, it wasn't pity. It was the smug satisfaction of a person who believes she's already won. They were careful all night, never sitting too close, never caught in an obvious moment. But their awareness of each other was constant, magnetic. I'd have noticed it even if I didn't know. And the beauty of it? They thought I didn't. On Sunday, Liam left for an open house tour in Santa Monica. He kissed me on the forehead, told me to get some rest, and walked out the door. I watched from the upstairs window as he got into his car and drove away. 10 minutes later, I was on my laptop, remote accessing his cloud backup through the password he still thought I didn't know. There it was. More photos, more messages. Sienna telling him she'd dreamed of the perfect holiday reveal, and him replying, "Patience. Timing is everything." Timing indeed. I downloaded everything to an encrypted drive, labeling each folder by date. I'd built timelines for dozens of clients' events, coordinating moving parts so nothing collided. This was no different, except the guests were my enemies and the celebration was their unmaking. The decision to destroy them didn't come in a burst of rage. It was slow, steady, like water eroding stone. I thought about every time Liam told me I was overreacting to something small. About every secret Sienna and I shared growing up that she'd now weaponized. About the way they had planned the when and the how of telling me, as if I were a problem to be managed rather than a person. They believed they could choreograph my heartbreak into something palatable. They believed I would accept my role in their script. They were wrong. Over the next week, I began adjusting my own behavior, not enough for them to notice, just enough to create space to work. I stayed late at client meetings that didn't exist. I left my phone face down more often, stopped asking where Liam was going, stopped checking in on Sienna's texts. My silence made them comfortable. Comfort made people sloppy, and sloppy people leave evidence. The first real seed I planted came the night I suggested a family holiday dinner. "Let's do something special this year," I told Liam, sipping wine at the counter. "We could put together a little photo montage, send it to everyone on Christmas Eve." He grinned. "That's sweet. You're full of ideas lately." Sienna loved the idea when I mentioned it to her on the phone. "I'll send you some cute ones from the Grove," she said. Perfect. They'd hand me their own noose. Every interaction after that became reconnaissance. I listened for casual slips, tested how quickly they'd reply to texts, noted how often their stories overlapped when recounting their days. They were careful, but not careful enough for someone who knew them as well as I did. At my core, I am patient. I can wait for the perfect lighting before taking a shot, the perfect pause in music before walking on stage. Revenge is no different. You don't rush it. You let it breathe, grow, ripen. A week later, I stood in the shower, steam curling around me, and pictured their faces when the moment came. I could see the exact second they'd realize the audience wasn't celebrating them. It was watching them burn. That image stayed with me all day. It fueled me as I answered emails, as I smiled across the table at Liam during dinner, as I helped Sienna choose outfits for an influencer shoot she claimed was for her portfolio. I agreed with every suggestion she made. I laughed at Liam's jokes. I gave them no reason to question me, because what they didn't know was that the plan had already begun. The montage was my stage, the photos were my script, and every day they were handing me my ending. The first rule of planning an event is this: nothing is random. If the napkin color matches the flowers, it's because I chose it. If the champagne toast happens at 8:17 p.m., it's because I know that's when the sunset will hit the windows just right. Revenge, I decided, should be no different. Step 1. Establish the stage. The Mertens family year in review video was my Trojan horse. I pitched it as a warm, nostalgic project, a way to wrap up the year with family and friends, sharing photos and little video clips from the past 12 months. I talked about it constantly, to everyone, so that by the time Christmas Eve rolled around, the idea felt like a tradition we'd always had. Liam thought it was sweet. Sienna called it adorable. They had no idea it was a loaded gun I was polishing in public. Step 2. Gather the props. The first thing I needed was raw material, photos, videos, audio, enough to make their connection undeniable. I already had some, thanks to iCloud, but I wanted more. I needed the kind of evidence that would make even their most loyal defenders go silent. Every time we were together in public, I found a way to take casual group photos. I'd lean in and say, "Let's get one of you two," smiling like the proud wife and sister. They'd pose without hesitation. Sometimes their bodies angled toward each other too much. Sometimes their hands touched longer than necessary. I kept every frame. I also mined their social media. Sienna had a habit of posting Instagram stories with just enough of the background in view for me to recognize a location, places Liam had never been. I took screenshots before they disappeared. Step 3. Build the audio arsenal. The audio recorder I'd planted in Sienna's apartment weeks earlier was my crown jewel. Every time I visited her, I'd adjust the couch cushions and switch out the recorder with a fresh one. She never noticed. I caught snippets. "She's going to be so blindsided," Liam's voice. Sienna laughing, "Don't make me feel bad. We'll tell her after the holidays. Keep it clean." I labeled each file by date and topic. The more I listened, the colder I felt. Their voices weren't guilty. They were excited. Planning. Step 4. Surveillance without suspicion. Liam's car was another gold mine. He never locked the glove compartment, where he kept receipts and random scraps of paper. I found receipts for dinners I hadn't attended, movie ticket stubs from weekday afternoons, even a hotel key card tucked into an envelope from a client meeting. One Saturday, while he was in the shower, I paired my spare phone to his Bluetooth system and set it to record all incoming calls. That gave me 2 priceless conversations in less than a week. One where Sienna told him, "We have to be careful at Christmas," and another where Liam replied, "Trust me, she won't see it coming." Step 5. Almost caught. There were close calls. One afternoon, Liam came home early from a showing while I was in the middle of downloading files from his laptop. I barely had time to eject the drive, slide it into my back pocket, and open Pinterest so it looked like I was browsing centerpiece ideas. He kissed the top of my head, glanced at the screen, and said, "You're obsessed." Another time, I was switching out the recorder at Sienna's when she came out of the bathroom earlier than expected. I shoved the device into my purse and bent down to pick up a cushion I'd knocked over. She didn't question it, but my pulse didn't slow for an hour. Step 6. Editing the weapon. I worked on the video late at night, after Liam fell asleep. I used professional editing software I'd mastered years ago for work. The first 2 minutes were exactly what everyone expected: birthdays, vacations, family dinners. soft piano music, warm filters, captions about gratitude and memories. Then, slowly, I began weaving in the rot. A frame of Liam's hand on Sienna's waist. A quick clip of them laughing in a hotel lobby, timestamp barely visible. The photo from the parking garage. Then the audio, layered over still images so their voices filled the room while their smiling faces froze on the screen. I kept it subtle at first, so viewers wouldn't realize what they were seeing until it was too late to look away. By the halfway mark, the evidence was undeniable. Step 7. The trigger moment. The final piece came to me while I was buying wrapping paper. I saw a display of USB drives in festive packaging, meant for sharing memories as gifts. I bought 2. On one, I saved the full unedited video, the one I planned to play at dinner. On the other, I saved every photo, every video, every audio file, labeled and time-stamped. That second one would go to my parents after the reveal, so no one could rewrite history. Step 8. The dress rehearsal. A week before Christmas Eve, I tested the video on the living room TV while Liam was at drinks with a client. I sat alone in the dark, remote in hand, watching their faces flicker across the screen. I adjusted transitions, increased the audio level so every word landed like a hammer. When it ended, I sat back and whispered to myself, "They won't recover from this." Step 9. The final layer of camouflage. In the days leading up to Christmas, I played the part of the doting wife and sister perfectly. I baked cookies for Sienna. I went with Liam to pick out wine for dinner. I even laughed when Sienna suggested we all take another Christmas card photo at the Grove, standing between them like I wasn't already holding the detonator. They didn't see the way I was watching them, not their bodies, but their tells. The shared glances, the half smiles, the unspoken coordination. They thought they were preparing to break me. They didn't know I'd already set the date and time for their execution. Step 10. Ready. On December 23rd, I slid both USB drives into a small velvet pouch and tucked it into the pocket of my coat. I double-checked the TV setup at my parents' house, told my mother I'd handle the year-in-review segment after dessert, and smiled when she said, "You always make things so special." That night, as I lay in bed next to Liam, I stared at the ceiling and listened to his slow, even breathing. My hand rested lightly on my coat draped over the chair, feeling the outline of the pouch through the fabric. Every piece was in place, every detail accounted for, every angle covered. The stage was set, and tomorrow night, all I had to do was press play. Christmas Eve always made my parents' house feel like it was glowing from the inside. Candles flickered on every flat surface, the tree shimmered in the corner, and the air smelled like rosemary, sugar, and too many layers of perfume. My family was loud, laughing, passing dishes around the table. It was the perfect cover. Nobody knew they were about to watch a carefully planned demolition. I kept my face relaxed, my voice warm, playing the part I'd been rehearsing for weeks. I passed the potatoes, laughed at my uncle's jokes, poured wine for my mother. Across the table, Liam looked at me like a man confident his secret was safe. Sienna sat 2 chairs down, her hand brushing her hair back in that slow, practiced way that always drew attention. I caught her eye and smiled. She smiled back, comfortable. After dessert, my mother clapped her hands. "Phones away. Jasmine's got something for us." Everyone turned to me, curious, expectant. I stood with the remote in my hand, feeling the familiar steadiness I get before walking a client through the big reveal. "This year's been memorable," I said, letting my gaze move across every face at the table. I thought it'd be nice to look back together, the good, the bad, and the unforgettable. The TV lit up with the opening frame of the Mertens family year in review. Gentle piano music began to play. Photos appeared. My parents at the beach in February, Liam and I hiking in March, Sienna holding a latte in April. Warm, harmless memories. People smiled, murmured. Liam leaned toward me, whispering, "This is really sweet, Jazz." I didn't look at him. "It gets better." The first Christmas card photo appeared. Me in the center, Liam on my right, Sienna on my left, all glowing under the oversized Santa display at the Grove. My mother clasped her hands together, her voice full of nostalgia. That's the one! The next image looked almost identical. But if you watched closely, the difference was impossible to ignore. Liam's hand was low on Sienna's waist, his eyes locked on her mouth. A faint murmur rippled through the table. My aunt's brow furrowed. My cousin shifted in his seat. The piano music kept playing, soft and almost mocking now. The next frame was a grainy parking garage shot. Sienna laughing, Liam's hand cradling the back of her head. Then a selfie of the two of them, cropped tight, the caption in the corner, cute but delete. Jasmine! Sienna's voice wavered like she was trying to laugh it off. I kept my eyes on the screen. A still image of them in a hotel lobby filled the frame. Then the audio started, their voices crystal clear. Sienna, do you think she suspects? Liam, she's busy, always busy. Sienna, I feel bad. Liam, then don't. We're inevitable. The room froze. The clinking of cutlery stopped. My father leaned forward slightly, his face unreadable. My mother's hand was pressed against her mouth. Liam shifted in his chair, his jaw tightening. More images followed. Sienna in Liam's hoodie, the two of them in a hotel balcony selfie, Liam's watch lying beside a lipstick-stained wine glass. Dates and times stamped neatly in the corner. Another audio clip played over them. Sienna. The card came out so cute, like, almost wrong? Liam. That's what makes it fun. Gasps. Whispers. The atmosphere had shifted completely. My family wasn't looking at the screen anymore. They were staring at Liam and Sienna like they were strangers in the wrong house. Liam's voice cut through the silence, low and hard. Enough. Not yet, I said calmly. The next series was simple. Hotel receipts, dinner reservations for two, calendar invites labeled private, shared between his email and hers. Each one stayed on the screen just long enough for everyone to read it. No explanations, no commentary. The proof was self-sufficient. Sienna's tears came first. Jasmine, please. I finally turned to her, my voice steady. You were in my wedding photos. You cried during my vows. And then you did this for months. So no, Sienna, I'm not stopping. The last video started playing. The hidden camera under her couch showed them sitting together with wine, laughing softly. Liam. After New Year's. We'll do it clean. She'll cry, but we'll make it amicable. Sienna. And everyone will understand. You'll protect me, right? Liam. Always. The video froze on their faces. I clicked the remote. The TV went black. The silence was absolute. Then I reached into my coat pocket, pulled out a small velvet pouch, and slid it into the center of the table. Inside was the second USB drive, the one holding every piece of evidence, neatly organized. That's all of it, I said to my parents. Every photo, every recording, every message, in case anyone thinks they can spin this later. No one moved. No one spoke. My father's voice finally broke the stillness. Get out of my house. Liam pushed his chair back, his voice tight with anger. You ambushed us. This is the truth, I interrupted. And now everyone knows it. Sienna's face was streaked with mascara, her eyes darting to my mother, then my father, searching for some kind of rescue. There was none. My mother wouldn't even look at her. They both started for the door. And that's when I said, one more thing. They turned, Liam's expression sharp, Sienna's tearful. I smiled. The video wasn't just for tonight. I sent it to every single person on our Christmas card list this afternoon. Merry Christmas. Sienna's face collapsed. Liam froze. In that moment, I saw it. The exact second they realized there was no path back. Their names, their faces, their affair were now the story everyone they knew would be talking about over their own holiday dinners. I lifted my wine glass, took a slow sip, and sat back down at the table. Now, I said to the stunned, silent room. "Who wants coffee?" The silence after they left didn't feel like relief. It felt like the air before a storm, heavy and electric. No one knew what to say. My mother stood up slowly, gathering plates with trembling hands. My father stayed seated, staring at the door like he could still see them. A few cousins murmured about calling me later, but no one really knew where to put their eyes. I kept pouring coffee. My hands were steady. By the next morning, the ripple had already started. My phone was buzzing before I even got out of bed. Texts from mutual friends, screenshots from group chats, messages from people I hadn't heard from in years. Everyone had seen the video. Some were pretending to be shocked. Others admitted they'd had a feeling. That was my favorite part, the way everyone suddenly became an expert in hindsight. Liam didn't come home. His clothes were still in the closet, his watch still on the nightstand, but I knew he wouldn't be back. The man who thrived on controlling a room had been stripped bare in front of the exact audience he needed to impress. He wouldn't risk walking through the door. Sienna stayed quiet for 2 days. Then, a carefully worded post appeared on her Instagram. "Sometimes love happens where you least expect it. Please respect our privacy while we move forward with kindness." The comments didn't go how she hoped. People screenshot their favorite moments from the video and tagged her. Some of her influencer partnerships dropped her within hours. I didn't respond to either of them. I didn't need to. The damage was self-sustaining now. But the real consequences came slower, and they were much more satisfying. 1 week later, Liam's firm quietly removed him from their website. The gossip was that one of their biggest clients had seen the video and didn't want that kind of distraction attached to their investments. His license would survive, but his reputation wouldn't. Real estate in Los Angeles is all about appearances, and his were gone. Sienna tried to pivot into sympathy, posting tearful stories about being misunderstood, but every time she tried, someone would drop the link to the Christmas Eve video in the comments. Brands stopped returning her calls. The boutique that had offered her a modeling deal found a new face. She'd worked her whole adult life to curate an image, and I'd shattered it in under 10 minutes. I kept my head down. I went to work. I smiled for clients. No one asked me outright about the video, but they all looked at me differently now, a mixture of respect and fear. People think they want to be loved. In this city, it's just as powerful to be feared. 2 weeks later, a thick envelope arrived in the mail. No return address. Inside was a handwritten note in Liam's familiar script. "We can fix this. Meet me." Underneath was an address. Not his apartment, not an office, just a quiet cafe we used to go to when we were dating. I didn't go. Instead, I slipped the note into a file folder labeled "Closure" and put it in the back of my desk drawer. It sat alongside the USB drive and a printed transcript of every recorded conversation. Not because I needed them anymore, but because it felt good to know I could pull them out any time. By February, Liam had moved out of state. Sienna was still here, but she avoided our side of town. My parents spoke to her in clipped, polite tones over the phone. She'd call me sometimes, late at night, from a number I didn't save. I never answered. I thought that was the end of it. Then, in March, I got an email from an unknown address. The subject line was just, "I think you should see this." Attached was a single photo, grainy, taken from what looked like a bar. Liam was sitting at a table with another woman, his hand low on her back, leaning in close. Underneath, a single sentence, "History repeats itself." I stared at it for a long time, then closed my laptop. Whatever story he was writing now, it wasn't mine anymore. And that was the real ending. Not the night I pressed play in my parents' dining room, but this moment, months later, when I realized I'd burned the bridge so thoroughly that even if I wanted to go back, there was nothing left to stand on. The twist? I never deleted the email. I forwarded it. Not to Sienna. To the woman sitting at the bar with him. Thanks for watching, and for staying with me through every twist of this story. I want to hear what you think. Have you ever seen someone get exactly what they deserved? Or been in a situation where revenge felt like the only option? Share your thoughts or your own experiences down in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoyed this story and want more like it, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It really helps the Velvet Revenge channel grow. Until next time, take care and choose your enemies wisely.